Welcome to Windows on the World. This is a special show, and we're going to be talking to a special guest. Tonight, we are going to look at the possible dangers of plant medicines and DMT and the negative entities which can be encountered while using these substances. And we have also Jerry Marzinsky, who I've done much work with in the past. So if you want to know more about Jerry, go to jerrymarzinsky.com, or you can find the shows that we've done together over the years on the homepage at windowsontheworld.net. So we're going to be talking to a very special guest tonight called Frank, who's agreed to come on, and he's going to tell us about his experience of DMT and plant medicine in Peru. So I'm going to bring in Frank and Jerry now.
Okay, I was the other day I was looking at some of the comments from my subscribers, and I don't spend a lot of time doing that. And I ran into two or three guys. One guy said, "Oh, he keeps saying the same stuff over and over again. Why don't you move into some other area?" Another guy jumps up and starts defending me, like, "Well, I've been and I get something new out of it." But it is true. One, I want the basics out. Two, I get requests from interviewers that I've never talked to before who've heard what I said, and they ask for that stuff again. But then there's the thousands of you out there that have already heard all the basic stuff. So what I have is I have people that write to me from time to time, and they tell me, "Oh, I want to tell you my story, and I'd be willing to. I have the courage to go public with it." And Frank was one of those people. So he started out like a drug psychonaut. He was using ayahuasca, a number of other drugs. Then he started using DMT, had good experiences with that. At some point, he poured some other drug on top of the DMT, and a very negative entity entered him and is still with him right now. So I'm going to let him start telling his story, and I'll kind of be asking him questions from time to time. So Frank, would you go back, just kind of talk about your experiences using drugs briefly, and,
Sure.
and bring it up to the point where you started using DMT and some of what it was like on those trips, and then what happened on the third use where something came into you, and kind of talk about what that felt like and how you reacted to it, and what you did about it, and how you negotiated with it, and that
Sure,
kind
Jerry.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been using plant medicines since 2015. So I'm very accustomed to using these substances. We've been to South America a number of times at ayahuasca clinics. I started using freebase DMT quite often, I suppose, once a month. So I've got plenty of experience, working with good entities in these realms. Never had a negative journey or trip. And
So
then,
Frank, what did you mean when you said I had experience working with the good entities in these realms?
sure, when you take these substances, you go to a place that's, the opposite of this dimension, this realm here. We're kept in a state of fear, which I believe is by design, by the way. But we're kept in a state of fear, and when you go to these places, these other realms, it's the opposite. It's love. It's a dimension of love where, unconditional love, beautiful energy. You come out of it, and it only lasts a short period of time. For those that don't know anything about DMT, it's only a short journey. DMT is actually produced by our body. It's a natural hormone. It's a neurohuman transmitter.
Okay, so you visited these realms with DMT, and you had
Sure.
a long time of good experiences with that.
For sure.
Okay.
Every single time, and many people do. And I was, unaware of the negative side of it because it never happened to me. I sort of was aware to it, but didn't really, in a way, believe it because all the publicity, all the research that's done on it, it's like it's a good thing. They call it plant medicines, all these institutions and scientists doing.
You were talking about times where you saw people that they found it very dangerous.
Oh yeah, I've seen, you know,
So,
I've seen
so
things like, you know, an exorcist, and you know, and the only thing missing is the head spinning around. You know, it's really crazy stuff, which eventually happened to me. Um, and it started a few years ago when to make the journey last longer, I took an inhibitor. Um, it's an
on
extract from,
top of
on top
DMT.
of DMT,
Okay, so your
and
experience with DMT for a good while was positive until this
oh
night.
yeah, all positive. You know, it made me a better version of myself. It made me more compassionate. Really changed me forever, like it does a lot of people. You know, but then when I did the embedder, which makes the journey last longer and takes you deeper, opens your consciousness up even more and takes you further away from this realm. I had a negative entity enter me, and at the time,
What did that feel like
um,
when so this was
well, at
this
the
was
time when it first happened, it was actually, I thought it was a good thing, because through the communication of it, it told me that, you know, it was a human and from the future, and you know, and I was thinking, well, I have to, I've made contact with something, you know, I've made contact, and thought it was a good thing.
and you know what, that's common because they do come in there, they say I'm Jesus Christ, I'm a special spirit, I know stuff,
Mm,
and they
mm.
try to uh, get your trust.
Yeah, I had
You
no
know,
reason not to believe it at the time, because it
as
was, you know,
a lot of other people are the same way. You know,
mm,
they enter
mm,
and you don't necessarily have to be on drugs for that to happen.
mm.
It happens most with amphetamine.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, so they come in and they convince you that they're a good force for to help you.
They lie. They lie.
Yeah,
It's in spiritual community. It's called a trickster, where it tricks
yeah.
you. You know.
And that's one thing I've seen. They lie about everything. You can't trust
Yeah.
anything they say. Is
Yeah.
that your experience also?
Oh, for sure, 100%. You know,
Yeah.
and so it's entered me, and it's
What did that
energy,
feel like when it entered
energy,
you?
and
Can you
and
describe
energy.
what it felt like? I mean, what how did you react to it?
Um, Astonished. It was
Did it happen fast or was it slow?
no. There were multiple things that happened when I came when it entered me. What I was seeing was holographic images of like I was being probed in a futuristic hospital, um, where you know, my neck was being turned. I felt impression in my neck, like a needle or something going in. There were it was like I was in a holographic machine, scanning my body, which I could feel, and I had a wave of energy moving my body around, all my body parts.
And where were you at the time and what were you doing? Were you standing? Were you sitting? Were you laying down? What,
I
what
was
where were
I
you and
was
what were you doing when this happened?
I was sitting down. I was out in the middle. I was out on property out in the middle of nowhere, with a couple of friends, where we'd go and use psychedelics on the weekend, spiritually. Um, and So we're in like a shipping container, and I was sitting down. I came to, I opened my eyes. Half my body was paralyzed vertically down, and I was coherent enough to think to myself, okay, I'll smoke DMT, it'll wear off in a minute, because what was happening to me, what I was feeling was very foreign. It was totally different to the
Than
hundreds of
your
other
other
times.
trips. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was sitting down, and then all of a sudden my body just, yeah, an energy picked up my body and stood me up, and was stretching my body out, my arms out everywhere, and I couldn't control it. And this went on for quite a while, and I'm telling the two people with me that, hey, this isn't me, you know, this is not me moving my body. And this went on for about 20 minutes or so, and then my body moved
And
me over to,
was it talking to you at the time while it was doing this or was it just
no, no, there was just an energy wave. So I sat down on a chair, and my arms were waving around in all sorts of directions, and then after a while, there was a moment where my hands just dropped down to my lap, and there was nothing, and I verbally said out loud, I said, "Now what now?" And then my arm lifted up as in a reaction, like, and that's when I knew that, hey, it reacted to my voice. So started talking to it, asking questions, um, and we
what did
worked out
that
a way.
what did that conversation go like?
Um, Well, we worked out a way to talk to it. Was the only way we could communicate with it was yes and no answers. So I said to it in my mind and verbally that, okay, lift my arm up for yes and down for no. So we
Oh,
were asking her questions like, who built the pyramids? What is this life? Where do we come from? And all
so
sorts of questions.
what did they say? Did they give you real answers, or were they all lies like the rest of the stuff?
They were all lies, and then we repeated some of the questions, and it was obvious that it was contradicting itself.
Yeah, so they
And
did. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
you
one
couldn't
of
rely on what they were saying.
exactly like we
But
said,
it sounded real enough, right?
oh, it was feeling real enough.
Very, very
That,
convincing. Yeah, yeah.
oh
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
common. That's a common
yeah,
experience with
yeah,
people who hear voices when it starts out a lot. They're very convincing. And they
mm,
can even do stuff that they predict the future. They predict where drugs are.
mm,
They can do that kind of stuff. There is no
yeah,
time, space, or matter where they are.
true,
Okay.
exactly. The different
So
laws.
yeah, different laws. So once you just, how long did it take you to figure out that they were liars and you couldn't trust them?
Well, on this night, I went to sleep after a few hours. I went to sleep with this energy in me. And when I woke up, I thought I was clean. The next day, I didn't feel any energy, nothing. It was hiding, actually dormant, hiding in my body. And so that made me think that I must have to take these substances to make contact. So a week went past, and I decided to try again because I wanted to make contact. And then I took dimethyltryptamine, DMT, and nothing happened, which is virtually impossible. It's according to the scientists, and it's the most powerful psychedelic known to man. Um, and nothing happened for a while, except I saw these holographic images, um, and eventually it moved across behind me, and then entered me, and I had the energy in my body again, mainly in my arm. And
And
that's when we started asking the
what did
questions
it,
again.
what did it feel as it entered you? What did that feel like?
Um, well, I wasn't, in a way, I was sort of happy because I'd made contact. It's what I wanted to do. But just a
So
huge
you,
energy. It's energy being.
you could feel it there,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and you recognize that feel by now.
Oh, for
And
sure.
then you started asking it questions, and what happened from there?
Um, it picked me up, went and gave my hug. Where the energy actually controlled my body and picked me up, gave my friend a hug. It was all lovey dovey and everything. This went on for a few hours. And
And
then again,
what did your friends think of all this?
at the time, very intrigued, I suppose, like myself, because it's just quite, they know I'm not making this up. They
Okay,
know I
so
haven't
they thought you were in touch with a some kind of other
something,
entity also. Okay, and they were as
some,
curious as you were.
yeah. Oh,
Okay, and
for sure.
then what
But,
happened? You
and
started
then,
talking to it.
yeah, same, asking her questions, not really getting,
What were you? Yeah, they were telling you lies in return,
for
right?
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Just telling me whatever maybe I wanted to hear, anything but the truth, basically, that
Okay,
it's not a good entity.
and then where did it go from there?
Yeah, so this when again the same thing. I went to sleep with this energy, hugging I could feel it in my arm. I woke up the next day again, felt clean. So that confirmed to me in a way that I must have to take my consciousness out to another realm with these substances for it to make contact. So then another week went by, and I returned to the same friend, and I asked him to film this time because I wanted to, get something on documented, and that's when it showed its true colors. I took quite a large amount of DMT, and nothing happened again. I took some more, nothing happened again, and then no. This time it wasn't any holographic images. It was very different. The energy overcome my body, and really, it was like an angry demon, angry something inside my body because it was expressing itself through my body, which is in the videos that I've showed you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's when I really panicked and realized that, hey, it's not a human from the future. It's a trickster. It's a really negative energy. Um,
Yeah,
But
so it looked like from those movies that you were really struggling with it at times.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure. If I tried to fight what it was doing to my body would cramp up. I just, so I just let it flow. And again, it picked me up, threw me on the ground for about half an hour. Um,
Did it pin you to
and
the ground?
yeah, it pinned me to the ground. When I tried
So
to get
so
up, I just
so
couldn't
you
get
could
up.
not get up. And
No,
what did your friends try to help you up?
no, there was only just one person filming,
Yeah,
and I'm very experienced at this sort of thing, and so he just, obviously didn't know
he just
anything
let
else
you
to
be.
do. Yeah, there's nothing he could do really. It wasn't like I was in any panic or anything, but I was really concerned because of the way it was expressing itself through my face,
Yeah,
um, and that it wouldn't let me up. And then when I eventually was able to get up, as you saw in the video, it threw me around. It overtook my body, and I almost tripped over myself. And that's when I strapped myself into the chair and started trying to get it to be nice and asking it questions, but it was just going crazy, basically.
and why was it going crazy?
To me, I have a few theories, but to me, looking back at the videos, it maybe just as surprised as me because of the way it was looking around, and it seemed like it was surprised, and maybe it's trapped in my body and it didn't. I took my consciousness out there, so maybe it's you know it's in there by accident in a way. It had no choice. I don't know, but the fact that just the signs to me that it was just as surprised as me, and it looked really angry and like, where am I? The way my eyes were moving around,
Mhm.
um, very surprised. It looked surprised, and again started questioning it,
So
and
yeah, you kind of gave up and said, okay, I can't beat it, strength wise or will wise, and then you started
mm,
negotiating with it for. I remember you said, well, we're sharing the same consciousness. Let's
yeah,
work something out here.
yeah, for
Can,
sure.
can, can you tell us
I've
that tale?
yeah, every time it definitely it's an energy that has a conscious for sure. It has feelings. I would eventually say to it, you're in my body. It's my consciousness. You're my slave, and it would get angry. Like control my body and physically and knock things over. Um, every time I did this, it would do things to scare the hell out of me, pin me up against the wall, start, almost let feet off the ground almost, with my whole body stretch, and just wouldn't let me get off the wall, trying to scare me in a way, trying to show its power maybe. Um,
And where do you think it got its energy?
I think it is energy. I think these things are parasites that are energetic parasites, like, with, like you say in your work,
Yeah,
most definitely, then it may seem like to me it seems like some sort of animal or beast, but then what animal or beast has an intelligent consciousness that can that can read my thoughts? And why does it speak English? Why does I speak French perfectly? Why can't it speak any other language or understand any other language than English? Which is really bizarre to me, because if it's in my consciousness, it should be able to know everything I know, but for
yeah,
some reason
you would think so.
you would think
But
so.
did you find that it could go into your memory and pull up every rotten thing you've ever done and throw it in your face?
It feels like that, especially in my dreams, in my nightmares that I have every night.
Yeah.
It's all things that happened in my past that I'd forgotten about as well.
Right,
You know,
right. That's the same thing with the others who hear voices. It's
Mm.
they go in there, they can pull out the slightest detail, keep throwing it in their face over and over again. Stuff like you said that you've long forgotten about.
Oh, for
You know,
sure. Yeah.
and you said you were talking to them for a good while. What did those conversations go like when you were trying to negotiate with them for control of your body?
Yeah. Just want to say that it's not, let's say, word. It's not a voice. To me, it's thoughts.
Yeah, and that's what they sound like. But you
It's
feel
thoughts.
those thoughts are not your thoughts, right?
Oh, most definitely
Right.
not.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
that's what they are. They're thoughts, but they're not the person's thoughts. And most of the time people can tell the difference. But a lot of times, since we're being told all thoughts that are in your head belong to you, and people accept that and it throws them off. But
Mm.
but you can almost feel these are not your thoughts. These do not belong to you.
For sure. And the way it
Yeah.
reacts to other people as well, and just everything, that
Now,
I,
how does does it react negatively to all people?
yes,
All people.
definitely.
It's like it
Yeah.
hates all people.
Yeah. It says, it says, screams obscenities, I'll be talking to even my own mother and just anybody, it would just put negative thoughts, like I hate them
So,
or kill
Frank,
them or,
it just wants to basically isolate you. Would that be
um,
correct?
yes.
And that's common.
I Yeah, I would also, surmise that there's nothing positive about this entity. I do believe in good entities, and this is a
Yeah.
negative one. So with the good
Well,
entities, it's all love and
you,
peace and everything. There's not one negative thought. But with the bad ones, it's the yin and the yang. It's
and
for every
that's the
positive, there's
same
a negative.
experience that thousands of other people who hear
Mm,
voices
mm,
have. The
mm.
voices are consistently negative.
Yeah.
They don't wander from that. And if they are saying something positive, it's just to trick you, like they did with you
Mm,
to start, and then they
hmm
turn on you later. So
hmm
that's
And
classic of the
yeah,
voices that.
for sure. And I'm a good
Frank, you
person.
said
I try to
something
be.
very interesting, that you thought that possibly it didn't know that it had jumped into you. You said that it could have been as shocked as you were that it happened. That's quite unusual, isn't it, Jerry?
I've heard of it. It's rare, but I've heard of it.
Mhm.
I remember
Oh,
talking to one schizophrenic guy and asked him, how did it start? And he said, well, all of a sudden I had this voice in my head and it's telling me to go pick up a pencil. I said, what'd you do? Well, I went and pick up a pencil. Then it told me to go walk in the room and do something else. And it reminded me of a guy who just bought a new car and he's trying it out to see, what it'll do. It was like experimenting with them. And that kind of reminded me a little bit of what Frank was saying there.
And what sort of
I think that's
age was this thing, Frank? Because I got the impression that it wasn't very evolved. It was almost
mm,
animalistic. Would that be correct?
yeah, yeah. I've had some shamans and they tell me that it's extremely old. So I've been told so many things, and I just don't know what to believe. I try not. I take everything with a grain of salt. I
Yeah.
just go on with
As
my
far as its
experience,
mental
what I'm
age goes,
experiencing.
I mean, how old would you say it was mentally?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer because these. I have the impression that it's extremely old, but its intelligence, I wouldn't put it that high because it's not a very good liar. It tells me things which, if it knew about humans or whatever, it would go, he wouldn't believe that. But it's so obvious. So I'm not too sure. And with myself, the difference is with the substances I've took. It's not just like with most people, it's the thoughts and that. For me, it's an energy it's an energy. It's an energy. I can feel it all the time. I've had all the brain tests and scans and everything, and there's nothing wrong with me according to the medical doctors and whatever. I haven't done anything to my brain or anything. So
Yeah, it's energetic for sure. Have
mm.
you ever gone into a church with it?
um, I've been meaning to. I haven't. I've walked into a crystal shop where the energy picked up really strong. Um, There are times when the energy's picked it up out of nowhere because at the moment, whenever I change my consciousness with any substance, say alcohol, marijuana, the energy gets stronger.
Mm.
Um, so, but there have been times when the energy gets stronger when I've had no substances. For example, when I first met the shaman in Peru, it just, as soon as I put my eyes onto him, it just threw all its energy in my arm and was trying to pull me backwards. And I can understand why, because as soon as I had my first diagnostic with the shaman, the shaman just started singing and using some of his tools, jungle tobacco and stuff, and it was like I'd taken the substance. It got like the first time, it just got really strong and mad, and everyone freaked out. It crushed one of my tooth. It gave me lockjaw so much. So it reacted to the power of the shaman, for sure. And
So it was trying to get you away from the shaman.
Oh yeah, for sure. And in a
Yeah,
way, you could say I've had an exorcism, a spiritual exorcism. It's the same thing, and that's where I knew 100% that it reacts, and it reacts to power. And shamans do have power. These plant spirits and everything, they're very real. Just as the good ones are just as real as the bad ones, and unfortunately, the bad
Now,
ones
was
are
that thing screaming at you as it was trying to pull you away from the shaman? Was it screaming at you?
It it No, it's more of a reaction, a really mad, angry reaction, like you're seeing in the videos. It's I can give you a little example. I can show now if you like. I just relax my body, and it'll send its energy out and express
Okay, so
itself in a way.
this is what it really looks like if you move out of the way. If you
Yeah,
take
sure.
the control you have over your body and you let this thing out,
Yeah,
this is
it's
what
like if
it'll
I
look
empty
like.
my mind, and my thoughts, and then just relax my body, my muscles, then it will try and show itself.
Okay.
I'll just
Well,
give you an
go
example.
ahead. Yes, I remember last time you said, "Okay, I'm going to step out of the way and let it come through."
I don't let it go too long, because then it gives me lockjaw and cramps up my face. And the longer I leave it out, the harder it is for me to push back in.
Okay, get control again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the people who are watching this could feel that, if nothing else.
Mm, mm.
I know I could.
Well, it lunges forward, doesn't it? It just
Yeah.
when Frank actually relaxes and
Yeah,
is
it came
not
forward.
consciously actually projecting, then it jumps in. But what we were talking about last time, just before the show, was this base state where there is nothing. So this kind of unified field, if you like, is should be always there. And are you saying, Frank, that in your case it's not there?
It's always
Do you
there,
understand?
but it's always there, but the energy is very light. It surrounds my body, and when it wants to express all like that, it'll push that energy into one part of my body to get stronger, to have a stronger effect, I suppose. But
So it
and
really
I get,
jumps in. It's so when there's a kind of baseline of 0 to 4 hertz or maybe higher, where you've got a very relaxed brainwave pattern, that it will force its way in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I do, believe there's a difference between possession and attachment. If I was possessed,
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you guys.
Yeah.
And consciousness attachment is different. It's attached itself to my consciousness. It's always there. I always feel this energy in my head, around my body. It's just depending, how strong it is, and through, letting it out or taking a substance, which I no longer do, obviously. I have done throughout the years, tried to get some answers through using DMT again and going into that realm, but it just it's a bit too scary for me. Seeing this, I see the entity, these holographic images, this light being, and it scares me. It scares me.
So you can see the holographic image of what this thing
Sure.
actually looks like.
And
What is it?
and
What is it? What does it look like?
it's a bit like a pattern of colors. Circular colors. It hovers in the sky, the area. It's like
Is it
I'm
dark?
seeing an extra. It's more reds. It's more reds and dark. Whereas when I see the good entity, it's more golden colors. The golden, and with what comes with seeing these different types of entity is the type of energy that I feel when I see the good entity with the golden and the colors and the blue. I feel that positive, loving energy that you do when you go and take these medicines or substances. But when I get the negative, the red and dark looking energy, I have that negative, dark feeling. It's not. It's fear. It's a negative feeling.
Is that with you all
does
the
that
time?
feeling follow the good feeling? In other words, does it try and trick you? Is there a kind of sense of expansion and euphoria, then it comes in?
I believe they're going into two different realms. You know, there's more than one dimension or realm, obviously, and I think that these entities come from separate dimensions, and for some reason I'm either going into the good one at times or going straight into the dark one.
You were talking about having to negotiate for your consciousness. How did you do that? Did you speak to it? Did you
yes, I speak
make
in my
an
mind.
agreement with it, or how did that go?
I would speak with it in my mind, and again, it would, you know, answer yes and no with my arm through the. So I'd do that through the community. Like, do you want to be friends? And straight down, no, really quick. You know, can we make a deal? You know, no. Then I'd get it. Would get it to I'd say to start saying things. Well, you know, you're my prisoner, you're my slave, and it would, you know, knock things over with my arm, force all the energy in my arm, and physically knock things over. Like it's.
And you couldn't control that.
No, it shows me that it has, you know, feelings. It has a consciousness for sure. I know that anyhow by its reaction, and I know it's not me as well. I know it's not me, you know, with a split personality or whatever. It's totally independent to me.
So you're aware of Frank, and you're aware of this other thing.
Yeah, there's nothing, you know, psychologically I feel no different. All I'm feeling is this wave of energy that's alive all around my body, and it's not good.
So what agreement did you come to it, you know, with it?
We haven't. I haven't been able to come to any agreement with it. You know, like when it refused all my questions and, you know, started, you know, saying one thing, maybe what I wanted to hear, it would say, I would ask it something and it would tell me what I wanted to hear. And then I'd ask the same thing 5 minutes later and it'd give me the opposite, you know, the opposite answer. You know, it's just anything and everything. It's just anything but the truth.
My experience with these things are that they keep moving toward taking more and more control. Do you feel this thing trying to do that with you? And if so, how do you stop it from doing that?
I feel like the only time it can, you know, really take control now is when I alter my consciousness and it gets stronger. When it gets stronger, there's not much I can do about it. I just have to let it go, you know. But in saying that, it doesn't do that as long as I stay on this level of consciousness. It can't get stronger. It hasn't gotten any stronger, except when I've felt the power of healers around me and it's wanted to avoid them. You know?
Okay. And what if, I mean, how does it react to preachers or other people?
Sure. I had some very devoted Hare Krishna friends, for example, who did a Hare Krishna, started doing a chant. The energy picked up and it was trying to attack him with my arm. Like my arm was lunging forward, trying really angry, and I could sense that it was angry. And then they put two religious statues into my hands, and the same thing. My arms were waving, and I wasn't going to let go of them. It couldn't control, you know, like get me to my fingers and throw it away. It was just waving my hand. You know, I could feel that it was really, really not happy at all and really angry.
Well, was it trying to hurt the Hare Krishna guys? Did it tell you to attack them?
No, it didn't tell me anything. It was physically using my arm
just physically
to try and to lunge at it. You know, right, I'm sure if it had enough power, it would get me up and, you know, and try and cause physical harm to him. But it hasn't got enough power to do that on no substances. Maybe when on substances, maybe it could. Because I wouldn't be able to, if it did that, I wouldn't be able to stop it, because if I did go against the grain, against the energy, my body would cramp up and hurt, you know, and I just,
Wow.
to almost breaking my bones, basically,
Wow. Wow. So what is it like living with a separate consciousness within you?
It's been quite a while now. So there was a point about 2 years ago where I decided I have to, I have to sort my life out. I have to live with this, and try and. So I started looking at it as a gift, because what it's done, as well as I'm an empath, and it's like it's heightened my empath abilities. I feel energies. It's like I'm always judging people, which is wrong, but the judgment seems right most of the time. I feel that the judgment's right, so it's given me a sort of level of consciousness. And I did have to, start organizing my life. I'd spent my life savings, trying to find answers and traveling around the world, seeing, shamans and whatever. So I just wanted to be at peace with it in a way and not let it affect me. And I sort of, got used to it, got used to the energy. The thoughts are not really, don't bother me. I've had a lot of accidents in my life. I know what pain is, and a few negative thoughts all the time. I just got used to it and ignored it.
So it's putting negative thoughts into your mind.
Yeah, sure. Everywhere I go, everywhere I do, I combat it with the word love, or I ignore it, and I just go. This is why I try and keep busy and keep my mind active, because as soon as I'm doing nothing, then that's when I can hear my thoughts all the time, and so I just keep busy all the time. I'm always trying to train my mind, and that's the way I deal with it. And so it's about the only thing I can do. I think I've tried a lot of things, and I wish I'm open to suggestions. I've tried all the science, the medical science of it all, and there's just no one. The people researching this stuff, the institutions, John Hopkins University, the Imperial College of
they're not going
London.
to find anything. They're looking for something physical, and it's not.
It's on bad news, because on bad news for their sponsors. They're all trying to get these medicines decriminalized.
When you go to these other countries, like you've been to Peru, these people are quite experienced, but it's now become a kind of fashionable middle class thing to do, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it's
all
that's because they're only getting the positives. Yeah, ayahuasca, DMT. It's so large, the amount of people doing this, and they have no idea. They're blasting off in their lounge room. And I've seen videos of people. I did a lot of research when this happened to me, and I'm not an isolated case by no means. I've seen videos of people blasting off in their lounge room, and the same sort of thing happening, where their arms are moving around, they're speaking some weird language, and this is happening on a daily basis because of the unethical incompetence of these institutions and the people promoting these substances that refuse to tell people that, hey, sure, it's not all lovey-dovey and positive. There are negative things out there happening. And even the people that do believe that, and the negativity side of it, they'll still do it. They'll still do it without, until which I can put myself in that case, until it actually happens to you, you're a sort of non-believer, because you're getting so much positive and healing from these substances, because they do heal. They are medicines if they're used the proper way, like most drugs. But it's just the level of the way that people are doing these things without any knowledge of what's going on. And most of the people facilitating these things, it's more for the money, because you look at the prices and everything that they're charging, it's crazy.
I can verify exactly. I can verify exactly what you're saying, because while I was working psych in the prison, all of a sudden this uptick in meth abusers was coming in, and the prison was getting more and more full of meth abusers, and most of them were hearing voices. And when I talked to them and said, well, how did this happen? I mean, so some of them were using meth for a long time, and it felt good. They felt powerful. They'd stay awake. They were able to get stuff done. They felt like Superman. And they would start hearing voices. And then they go, oh, those are just hallucinations. And that might happen periodically. And they go, oh, once I come down, they'll go away. And then one day, they didn't go away. On meth, on the drugs or not, they were still there, just like in your case. And I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of meth users. The meth is one that it opens you up, and they just jump in.
I think all substances open you up. All levels of different consciousness open you up to positive or negative entities. And drugs like meth seem to open up all the negative energies, because you
And
don't see.
what do you think about marijuana?
Cannabis, for me, it's a medicine. It's a drug like everything. You can use it as a drug or as a medicine. For me, it's helped me throughout my life with my injuries that I have, from my insomnia, my physical injuries.
And how does this entity respond when you use marijuana?
Okay, because of my high use of tolerance of cannabis, the energy does pick up, but not strong enough to control me like it does in the videos I've showed you. But DMT and psychedelic mushrooms, LSD, things like that, the stronger the medicine, the stronger it gets. So with cannabis, I'm still a user of cannabis today, but it's.
I've had some people tell me that their voices didn't like them using cannabis because it relaxed them.
And
it slowed them down and it relaxed them. They didn't like it.
And also, cannabis will suppress you from dreaming and having nightmares and remembering them. Most people that use cannabis don't dream or dream very little. I stopped using cannabis this past month, and I've just had nightmares every night. And this is a well-known effect from cannabis. So maybe they don't like it because they can't get you in your dreams.
That's what I was thinking, because they do get you in your dreams.
Oh yeah.
I've seen them. What they do is they wake you up at 3, 4 in the morning and then start on you. You're no good. You're rotten. Da, da, da. Could you tell the audience kind of a lot of when you were talking with it, and it would start putting you down and saying bad things. Could you tell them some of the kind of things it said?
It was more directed at it's more directed at other people and my surroundings. I don't feel like it's never told me to go and kill myself or anything. And I believe that maybe it wants to stay in this dimension as long as possible, and it needs to do that through my consciousness. So it's trying to keep me alive longer. I've got a lot of physical injuries from some accidents, and it's actually helped with those injuries. It will, massage them. It will, things like that. But towards other people, it's just obscenities and,
you could actually feel it massaging sore spots in your body?
Oh yeah, I just think, I would think my shoulder, I've got a lot of problems with my shoulder, and then my shoulder would just start moving in these moves that like a physio's working on it, no pain or anything. Same with my lower back, same with my neck. Just as I'd even think, my neck, it would, start moving it around. And I've got 2 herniated discs in my neck. I have to be careful, I can hardly move left to right, but the way it was moving it, even fast and everything, it was actually soothing it. So it knows what to do to my body to fix it, or to make the pain go away. So this is why I've always felt that it wants to stay in this dimension as long as possible, and the longer I'm alive, the longer it can stay here.
Frank,
but
do you think
other people,
that
just all
it's
negative
around,
negative thoughts?
Like you said, such a long time, and it's been attached to many other people, and it's just found you as a host? Or do you think it arrived by accident? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm 50-50. Both of those possibilities are 100% possible. But at the moment, I just, everything contradicts itself, and I just don't know which way to lean. As much as I'd like to think that, that I think that it's got in here by accident, that I took my consciousness out to this realm and it somehow entered me, and I brought it back with me, and now it's trapped. And it's just as possible as, no, I took my consciousness out there and it entered me on purpose, and now it's here. And I don't know which one I can't confirm either or the other, but it seems like it's one or the other.
So Frank, you said you've been to the positive realm where there were like angels and stuff, entities like that there. Okay. Have you ever attempted to ask the positive realm or your guardian angels to come and help you with this thing, to help you get rid of it?
No, well, since it's entered me, and when I've taken DMT again, and Ayuhasca, the substance doesn't work, so I'm not able to make contact. I don't have contact with the
Well,
been
have
since.
you ever just, without taking the drugs, have you ever just prayed and asked for help to get that thing
Oh,
driven out of
for
you?
sure.
And how does it
Yeah, a
react
number of
to, how does
times.
it react when you do that? How does it react
It's
when you
like
do
there's
that?
nothing.
It
It's like there's
doesn't,
nothing. There's no
it's,
reaction. You know, when I was going through my exorcism in Peru, they had me try and concentrate on Archangel Michael.
mhm.
Archangel Michael. So I was doing that. I was just calling on help, you know, from Archangel Michael to help me. And you know, but while I was doing that, you know, the shaman's doing its work, and it's my body's going crazy with energy, trying to, wherever the shaman was working, it was going to the other side of my body, trying to get away from him. And
Oh,
you know, but as far as me, you know, trying to call on help or anything, it's just a blank. It's just a blank.
so
You know, really,
you can't ask for help.
it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I remember last time I asked you to pray to your guardian angel and ask for its help, and you said you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, all that time. It's not that I couldn't do it. I think a part of it is that, you know, I've never subscribed to any belief system, you know, religion and things like that. And so in a way, I'm a non-believer of, you know, of things like that. And I thought, I started thinking maybe it's because I don't have a belief, you know, that they're not reacting or nothing's going on. But, you know, what's
Yeah, that
happening
could be.
with, yeah, it could be exactly, or maybe it's, you know, just blocking out, because what I'm feeling, you know, this energy is undeniable. It's alive. It's like my body's alive, and and I'm sharing a consciousness with this energetic being, parasite. You know, I would say more of
So
a parasite.
do you feel it sucking on your energy? Do you feel it using your energy?
Yeah, I think it's feeding off my energy. It's feeding off things that I do, that my vices, the negative things. So, you know, we all have vices, you know, biting
Uh-huh.
nails, compulsive eating and things like that. It definitely expands that. It's like, you know, if I had a little bit of resistance before, well, I have none now. You know,
Uh-huh.
you know,
So
everyone tries to,
it kind of pushes you in a negative direction. And what
definitely.
about it? What about if you have like a conflict with another person? What does it do?
A conflict with another person, I don't really. I haven't had a conflict with another person. Again, using these plant medicines for years, I've become so compassionate and understanding. And even, you know, when I've drunk ayahuasca, where when you're under and talking to Mother Ayahuasca, I'm 100%. I'm thinking, I'm getting all these thoughts of all the people that have done wrong by me or whatever in my past, and I'm thinking I'm going to go and see them, and I'm going to say to them, it's okay, I forgive you, you know. And this is what these medicines do. They show you what to do, but then it's up to you to do it.
To
I
go and
never
do it.
did go and see, you know, to go and do it. And this is, you know, the opposite of, you know, this thing.
Now, do you find that entity getting stronger or louder after sunset? Does the time of day mean anything? Does it change at night? Does it get stronger?
No,
No.
no, it's no. I need, you know,
Does it demand your attention often?
no, no,
No. You just know
no. I
it's
don't.
there.
I just know it's there, and if I, like I said, if I stop doing something, or if I, you know, try and meditate, which I can no longer do, I just can't my mind. And suppose,
It comes in.
yeah, it comes in and stopping me from stopping my mind and being able to meditate. You know, it's
Does
putting
it
thoughts.
does it try to keep you away from other people? Does it,
Um, maybe, maybe by the negativity of it all. You know, by its negativity. You know, whatever.
so
Yeah,
it has nothing
even.
good to say about anybody else.
Oh, most definitely. It just yells abuse at other people. It puts thoughts in my head, even my own mother. You know, it'll sit
And
there
what is
and
it saying? What is it saying about Mark and I as we're talking to you about it?
well, I'm not taking in, like, as I'm talking to you, so my mind's
You're,
been occupied. So there's no. It's like it's not there. It's not
is it
there.
aware?
And like,
Is it aware that you're talking about it?
Oh, for sure. It's like it can see everything I can see. It can
everything you
understand
can see.
everything.
See, that's one of the
Yeah.
things that surprised me too. With I was talking to
I
one
can,
patient who said the voice can see everything I see. It can hear everything I hear.
and it can even see things that I can't see. And the proof is in the video that I showed you where the shaman was sucking on my head. If you go back
Yeah,
and watch it, just before the shaman is behind me, just
yeah.
before he goes to touch me, my face it expands its energy in my face like it did before, and now I can't see that. It can see that the shaman's about to do his thing. You go back and watch it, and you'll see that it's reacting to the shaman that I can't see. So its
Oh,
energy can
okay.
see
But
360
Frank,
degrees as
Frank,
far
can
as
he
I'm
see it?
concerned.
Can the shaman see it? Has anyone seen this entity and told you what it
The
looked like?
shaman, no, the shaman. When they said I had 7 of these things inside me, and each day when they got one out, I saw a light and like a glow, some sort of light leaving like through the sky. Like I've seen it twice. Um, so yeah, I've seen some sort of energy light sort of fly through the air and out. You know, and he also said that one of them tried to attack him in his sleep, and that he managed to kill that one. So, but physical, seeing what, describing them, no, I can't really describe except what I saw, some sort of light energy, sort of, this is in the daytime, sort of when he's whisking it away after he's sucked on my head or my belly button to try and extract them.
And Frank, do you ever feel that it's trying to manipulate your perception or how you see things?
Yeah, I think so. I think, by doing that, it changes my wills, my wants. I sort of have thoughts again. It makes me have thoughts that I know that are my own, but I'm thinking, why am I saying that? It's the situation, or maybe I just unsure. I'm really
Are,
unsure, but
are they negative thoughts all the time?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And having
So
negative thoughts, and like I might want to do something that would be good for me, but then I won't do it because I start getting contradictions in my mind, and sort of maybe, and then I eventually don't do it. So maybe it's some sort of persuasion, or to
to
sort
keep
of
you
trick my
away from
mind into doing something positive. Like
and,
I might
and
I try and go for.
it doesn't mind you talking about it. It's not reacting to your
No, it doesn't care. The other day when I spoke to you guys, and you asked me to see what it feels like about me sharing this knowledge with you, and it just said it doesn't care. The voice, but the thoughts came in. I don't care. I don't care.
yeah. That's unusual. Now,
Mm.
does it allow you to enjoy yourself, or every time you try to enjoy yourself, it steps in and destroys that?
No, I don't think you can do that totally. Like I'm enjoying myself. I'm myself. Um, Again, it's just thoughts and energy. And when I'm enjoying myself, I'm usually occupying my mind so I don't have these negative thoughts. Um,
Good.
mm,
Do you ever find that it short circuits your reason at any time?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. It
Uh,
intervades into my reasoning and things like this, but I'm aware of this as well. It's like, again, it's not me, it's not my reasoning. So, I just do what I want. I'm still myself. I'm still normal as far as I'm concerned. I just have this energy, and this thing speaks to me through my thoughts, or gives its impressions. It
do you
doesn't
Even
really
think
if
it
it
speak
has
to
stops
me.
you
any?
It
doing
just
things you
reacts.
want, but it's there all the time. You're
Oh yeah,
aware of it all the time. When
yeah.
you're
I'm
not
not aware.
actually actively doing something, it comes in, but it doesn't
Hmm.
stop you doing anything. Would that be right?
No, yeah, I wouldn't say it comes in. It's there all the time. It's just the level of the intensity, and it's more the energy is there all the time. I can feel it. But if I'm concentrating on something, I keep my mind busy. I don't notice the energy. I don't notice it because my mind's gotten so used to it. It's been a number
Yeah.
of years now you know.
So
So
in other
it's like
words,
it's
you
like my
can't fully
physical
relax
pains.
anymore. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's right. In my mind, I can't sit still. You know, if I did, you know, stop my mind, it doesn't really stop, but it gets filled with these negative thoughts. You know, with these negative
Why do you
impressions.
think it does that then? Because the way you've described it is that it's not entirely negative. So it allows you to be frank, but when
Hmm.
frank switches off, it injects negativity.
I think when I'm myself, I don't think it has enough power to control, you know, to control me. Yeah, I think it's a question of power. And again, if I use a substance, even alcohol, anything, it gains power, and it
And
gains
what
power.
does it do if you drink alcohol?
Um, the energy gets quite strong. I cannot ignore it. I cannot ignore it at all. Um, and So then I keep my mind busy, because if I'm doing nothing, that will use that energy and start trying maybe scare me or whatever, but start moving around, and you know, like again
But
in the
it doesn't
videos
make you
that I've
do
seen.
anything negative. It doesn't make you angry or want to attack people
No,
or smash
no,
things up.
no, definitely not. Um, you know, definitely not. Maybe if I was a different type of person, I would be, you know, more of a negative type person or a mean person or something, and maybe those types of people follow through on that energy, whereas I don't.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
Mm.
Frank, do you ever feel it competing for your attention? Does it ever try to drag your attention over to what it wants and what it has to say?
I think when it's mm, um, not so much, but I think that's true. If it had more energy all the time, it would. It would most
Yeah.
definitely. Um, it would, but it just doesn't have that energy to do that.
Okay. So you have
I
enough control over your attention to where it can't control your attention.
for sure. At the moment, yeah. And you know, for the first 6 months, year, it had all my attention, because that's all I was freaking out. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't avoid it. The energy was actually a little bit stronger than what it is now. It's like it's gotten used to its environment and settled in. That's the way I feel.
How did you wrestle your attention back from it, or did it just give
Um,
it back to you?
I got used to it, and I forcibly, you know, had to. I knew if I kept going like this, I'd go insane. You know, my
Uh-huh.
life was falling apart financially, mentally, lost all
Yeah.
my friends or people I thought were friends by telling them this. I
Yeah.
reached out to the psychedelic community. I got ignored. I reached out to the paranormal community. They were just judgmental because of the substances I used. And that's when I went to Peru and did that. And then when I came back, I really, you know, made conscious decision to just, I have to move on with my life. I have to ignore this, you know, otherwise I'm just mentally and physically going to not be around much longer, and maybe even kill myself because, you know, because of being alone and what's happening to me and no one to talk to about it. You know, we need human contact. It's very
Yeah.
important, and I've lost contact with everyone and everything I believed in the spiritual community. I lost everything. Even my family, you know, they just think I'm crazy. They know I'm crazy, you know.
Frank, what would
Um,
happen if you told it to leave? What do you think would happen?
Nothing. I've told it to leave plenty of times, or asked it, you know, or can it leave, you know. But again, I just every communication is a lie. You know, it'll tell me one thing, I'll ask the same thing 5 minutes later, it'll tell me another. It's just there's no reasoning with it. It doesn't care about us humans. It doesn't care about our laws, our karma. It has a totally different set of rules. I do know, and I do believe that, you know, after, you know, through my use of psychedelics, that there are other realms out there just as real as this realm that we live in.
Hmm.
And it's obviously come from another, because I took my mind out there to another realm through these substances. So these things must be in these other realms. They're not from this realm. They're not from our universe. They're nothing like us, you know. So I just, I
Do you
really,
think
that's,
you think it has reasoning ability at all?
I think yes, but it wouldn't want to. It doesn't want to. It doesn't, doesn't want to reason on anything. It's awfully, it's intelligent because, maybe not intelligent, but it definitely is alive, and consciousness has a mind of its own.
And what would
What
that
type
be?
of
What would that mind be like if you had to describe what its mind was like? What would you what would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it be if you
it'd
had
be
to
just full
describe
of
its mind?
full of negativity. I think it avoids the truth. Maybe it's embarrassed where it comes from or what it is. It just has it's a mind that has no respect for us, that is not interested in us, that doesn't care anything about us, but it's obviously feeding off something. It's obviously
Yeah.
feeding off something.
What do you think it wants from you, Frank? Why do you think it actually came into you? Do you think it was as surprised as you were to find it there? Do you think it accidentally arrived, or you'd opened yourself up and it was floating around, or
Yeah,
did
well,
it
that's
intentionally
definitely possible.
choose you?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. At the time when I took this, there was a possibility that I thought that it could have entered me through one of the other people there. One of the other people there who took DMT on that night before and purged a lot and everything. And he later on told me that he used to play with Ouija boards and cut himself up, with like pentagram and stuff, and sold his soul for $10 million in a skateboard many years ago when he was young. So that had me thinking, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, there are no negative energies. Okay. When you're around people, there's a lot. So that had me thinking of the possibility. Actually, I believed that that's how I got it at the time, was that these things jumped out of him, that he brought them out through his journey, and then I opened myself up and they came into me. But then
That
later
reminds.
on,
Yes, that sounds like something which goes along with my research into this and also my own experience, that these things can come through other people. They're already carrying them.
oh yeah,
But maybe that
yeah,
could be what it is, that you were open, because that's when it happens. Because I've been
mhm,
attacked by entities and they came through other
mhm,
people who were dabbling
yeah,
in these things that you've just mentioned, and a lot of
mhm,
new age practices. And these things have come through somebody else and attacked me. But because my own awareness was intact and my own field of awareness was not interrupted, it bounced off. So, in other words, if I'd have been open and taken something, the same thing could have happened to me.
mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah, for
remember
sure.
I was
That's
Yeah.
working with a prisoner once that I was talking to his voices, and I asked the guy how that voice got into him, and the voice said it was a motorcycle rider. It got killed in a motorcycle accident, and it didn't know where to go, and it saw another guy riding a motorcycle down the highway, so it jumped into him, and
mhm.
that was the patient I was working with.
And that's the dangers of what's happening with people using these substances. They're not doing it in a controlled space with protection, like with a proper shaman. They're just doing it with a bunch of friends in their lounge room or out in the open, and energies come in and out of people. And this is what's happening, and people are getting. This is why it's so dangerous, and why so many people are showing the same symptoms as me, or similar symptoms, without their knowledge at first. Maybe I do believe that when they enter a lot of people, they're dormant, and these people do not realize that they've been hijacked.
Now,
But
you were saying that at times it would make you say things that you didn't intend to say, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
yeah,
They
sure.
say something and they go, "Why did I say that?" Or, "Oh no, I think
Would
I
I
hurt
do
that
that?
person." When, yeah,
Yeah, and we're conscious of it straight away. Why did I say that? I'm not. That's not me. Or why
right,
did I
right,
do that? That's not me.
yeah,
And then we just
yeah,
wipe it off as if thing. But it's
right. Well, who
actually
else could it be?
these
Yeah,
people think it's just chance or whatever, or just think nothing of it really. But for me, it's they've got entities inside them that are dormant, just like this thing entered me on the first night and stayed dormant. And I didn't know that I had these entities inside me until it didn't leave, obviously. And that was when the first time I realized that it was in me all the time, and that I didn't have to use a substance for it to enter me, was when I questioned it. The way I was eating, I thought, that's not me. Maybe this thing's inside me, it's still inside me. And then boom, the energy picked up. It was like the gig's up, it couldn't hide anymore, and it showed
Mhm.
itself. And I'm on no substances, thinking, holy shit, it's in me, and it
Did
changed
it
my
talk to you?
perception of everything.
Did it talk to you
Uh,
then, and how did you react to? I mean, were you hearing it say anything, or did you just feel it?
it was more, no, but it was more expressing itself energetically through my body by controlling my body and things like that. That's the way
And
it sort of
you could not,
communicates more. It
and you could not
communicates
take.
more. It communicates more with me physically through using my body as a vessel than it does in my mind.
And you
Um,
couldn't
you
take
know,
control back of your body when it does that.
I could, if I'm on no substance, I could.
Uh-huh.
But if I relax, then it will do whatever. Like now, I'm relaxing my arm and it's just doing this. It's just energy. It's separate. And right now, I'm sort of talking to you, emptying it, but it's like got its hand here, and it's like it's looking at me.
So we could actually ask it questions, and it'll give us yes or no answers.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Ask it if it did it come from Hades.
You just did, and it went down.
That
It's
did
going to
not.
give you any. Yeah,
Yeah,
it just
so
went
we can't
down.
you can't believe anything it says, right?
No,
So
no,
so it
no,
doesn't
nothing.
it doesn't do
No,
any good to ask us questions because it lies all the time.
no. Yeah, and you'll ask it something that it has no clue of, and it'll still give you an answer. It's just, it's
You
just
can't
anything.
trust anything it
Yeah,
says. Now,
exactly.
do,
That's why.
do you find that it tries to fill your mind with negative thoughts?
Yeah, when I relax my mind, yeah, that's all it does.
Right. So
Yeah,
you have to expend energy all the time to kind of keep this thing within its
yeah,
cage, kind of
that's
like.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
constant vigilance. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Do,
yeah.
do you
And
do
I
you ever
think,
find it? Do you ever find it trying to destroy your self concept? Kind of run you down, uh, tell you bad things about yourself, or does it just do that about to other people?
yeah, I think maybe it does at times when I think about it. I think it does, but I think it's more. I don't know how to explain it really. It's again, I think if it could do things to scare me, um, like I had the paranormal experts interview me, and they were quite a bit naive, but they were saying like, okay, if you're an entity or whatever, you should be able to move that pen or make that light bulb flick on and off. And I said, lady, if it could do that stuff like that, it'd be doing all the time to scare the shit out of me, scare the crap out of me. Excuse me. But it doesn't. But I think if it could do those things, yeah, because fear is a reaction and it's feeding off me, my reaction as well. I feel, it's feeding off everything, a lot of things, and it's an energetic being, and it's got different ways of feeding off me through my emotions. Um,
Does it mostly
yeah,
feed off of your negative emotions? How does it react to
yeah,
positive emotions?
um, it's just a blank. It's just a
Okay,
blank.
you said
Um,
if you repeat the word love, it doesn't like it.
it's not that it doesn't like it. To me, it combats its negative thoughts and everything, and it sort of just stops. It's just, and then I fill my mind up with other things, and until next time I empty my mind, I get a negative thought. I just say love, love, and
And it shuts it up.
and then move. Then not that it shuts it up, but I shut it off. I shut off its way of communicating through me through these thoughts.
And can you feel it drain you? Can you feel it draining your energy? Where do you think it gets its energy from?
I think it is energy as much as what we are human, and we are energy as well, or our mind is energy.
Yeah,
I think it is all energy. It is
So you
all
think it has its
energy.
own
It's not.
energy?
Oh yeah, for
it has.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is an energetic parasite. It doesn't have a form, a body like us. They're an energy. They're an energy being. They're an energy. Um, yeah, they're energy. That's all they are. I think that's all they are.
Yeah.
energy
And
Yeah.
how
and
much
with a
energy has it
consciousness.
got? Has it got as much energy as you, or sometimes has it got more energy than you?
When I alter my consciousness with any substance, it has a lot of energy. Um,
Mm.
the proof is in the videos the footage that I have, and also when I'm around healers. When healers try and work on me, religious people, it gains energy. It seems to find its power. It seems to find enough energy to be different to the everyday energy that I feel.
Is it possible that this thing just comes through that substance and it's something that is unique to that substance and is part of that dimension? Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I believe not just this substance, but probably all psychedelics and most
Mm.
all drugs, but just at different levels. The weaker the drug, maybe. I do think that these things, people have these things entered them through drugs, through alcohol, through meth or whatever. Um, and the stronger the substance, maybe the more power. I don't know. My case is quite particular because I did take an extreme amount of substance. Um, the extreme amount. And so maybe this is why I'm feeling the energy side of it more than not like most people with your cases are. It's more the psychological side. It's more in your head, not the physical side of it. And so I think all substances leave us open to these other realms, other entities to attach themselves to a person. It's a different shift of consciousness. I do believe that this realm that we're seeing, that we live in, physical world that we live in, is because of the level of vibration that our consciousness is tuned into. So obviously, when you change that level of consciousness, another realm comes into focus, or comes, you're taking your mind to another place. It's
Mhm.
and we humans don't live there. There's other things that live there, and somehow, whether they want to or not, they're coming in. They're coming into this realm through our consciousness.
Yes, that baseline state is being interrupted. And that's
Mm.
Yeah.
something I find really fascinating about this. And I always bring it back to that because that's where we have to see these things subjectively in some ways. But that's exactly how I kind of experienced it. So, in other words, if there's an intrusion, I can feel it. And I did a course with people who specialized in energetic self defense, and they was quite skilled at doing psychic attack. And they were able to time when they'd attack me, and I was able to qualify that. So this field, once we change our own vibrational energy with substances, then that's where these things come in. And I think that's
Yes.
really the most important lesson for this particular show that we've done in a way. And I think what you've said has really reiterated that. And maybe it will give people something to think about. And also, people may take more precautions and not be quite as ready to jump in to these experiences without
Yeah, for sure.
proper preparation, at least.
Yeah, with proper research, and this is the hard
Yeah.
thing, Mark, is because the institutions and all the pioneers of these medicines. Why are so many people taking these plant medicines around the world? Is because of pioneers like Graham Hancock and Terence McKenna, who have never said one negative word or spoken about negative entities. All they hear about is positive, how it's all love and healing and
But
everything.
didn't
And,
Hancock, when he first took it, talk about these reptilian type beings, which were like chimeras, basically, ancient Egyptian things that were looking at
Mhm,
him? I seem to remember him talking about that. So to me, that doesn't sound really positive. That sounds as though
mhm.
that could be something
It's a
quite
little bit
dark.
different. Yeah, Graham Hancock probably came after, but the original pioneer that every person who's taken psychedelics or DMT has heard or know about Terence
Mm.
McKenna.
Yes.
Terence McKenna introduced this to the Western world, and it's all about um, you know um, elves and stuff like this, which people find fascinating. And he's always joking and happy and joking about his experiences, and they're all positive. He never once mentioned about how it's dangerous.
That's really interesting, though, Frank, because
and
when we go back to the Victorians and W.S. Gilbert of Gilbert and Sullivan fame, actually constructed this fireplace at a place called Grimsdyke Hall. And it was the most horrific thing I think I've ever seen. It was like a channel. It had Satan in it, and it had demonic entities. And it's in that hall. And some fella that was working there, I did a show there, and I said, that is really strange. And it had all the symbolism that we've come to know, which is connected to demonology. And nobody actually mentioned it apart from this African bloke who was there. And he said, I really don't like that. And I said, neither do I. And we started talking about it and why it was really bad. But that's an incredibly interesting point, because it's presented to the public, this thing, as mischievous elves, when in fact it's actually demonic. And that's the danger. That's the false light. That's what the New Age has brought in. That's called the lostness of the mind, which was predicted to be the fourth world wilderness, which is a big part of what's going on now. This system that we're in is encouraging people to basically lose their minds. People who've lost their minds are very easy to control. People who are controlled by entities are very easy to control. And there's another side of it, which is also that there's a certain belief system that believes if they bring enough chaos into the world and enough demonic energy, then the Messiah will have to come. And this all sounds a bit preposterous to the public, but on different levels of reality, there are people who believe it. So maybe we should wrap this up with a warning from you, Frank, and maybe any advice that you could give people.
Yeah, sure. You know, it's not all, ayahuasca and these plant medicines it's not all love, peace, and healing, and most definitely not. And most people that are doing this are oblivious to the the consequences. And I just feel that if they did know the truth and about these substances, which they obviously don't know the whole truth, they would think twice about doing these things. And so they should, because once it happens, there's no going back. There's no going back. Most of the shamans in Peru, they're practicing witchcraft. This is a known fact. Even the authorities know this. This is why they don't close down centres that aren't registered with the government, because they're scared. They're scared. There's quite some famous ones as well that people go to that are practicing witchcraft. They're taking energy from people. This is a known fact. But you don't get to hear
Frank,
this in the brochure.
That's a really brilliant point, because a lot of people who get into this Hinduism for Westerners are actually unknowingly practicing black magic. And in places like Nepal and India, black magic is openly practiced at the lower end of the scale in these religions. It comes from this pagan animal sacrifice and control of other people through belief and spells. So that's the dark side of what we're talking about. And that side of it is ignored by these gullible Westerners. Now, and I'm not saying you're gullible, Frank, because you're definitely not. Yeah. But the thing is that the people who are doing this unaided and even without proper supervision, because at least these shaman know what they're doing to a certain extent.
Yes.
But these people who are indulging in this now in their living rooms don't know what they're inviting in. And I think that's the lesson that people need to learn, isn't it?
Because
so Frank, if you were to walk into a psychiatrist's office now, I know what they would say. They'd say, you're crazy,
So
you got a chemical. Yeah, that's why you didn't go. They'd say, you're crazy, you got a chemical imbalance in your brain, you got to take these drugs. What would you say back to them if they told you these things aren't real, you're just hallucinating? What would you tell? Here's your opportunity to tell the psychiatrist what you really think.
Yeah, I would say, okay, you say that I have a chemical imbalance. Of what degree, and is that balance? So how do you measure that? And you know,
They won't
what
have an answer
degree
to
is
that.
the imbalance? Yeah, exactly. You know,
So,
it's just
how would you react to them saying, "Oh, this is just a hallucination"? You know, what you're talking about is
okay. I would
just a
show them.
hallucination.
I would show them some videos of things that defy the laws of physics, especially with my condition, and basically tell them
And
how
what if they?
it's true. Is it that their practice is based on theory? What proof have you got that there is I've got a chemical imbalance and that these drugs are going to do anymore after what I've told him? If I use any substance, it makes it worse. And this is my
Yeah.
biggest fear in life, is that if I need to be put under for an operation, which I do need a few, is it going to when I go under?
Yeah.
Is this thing going to come out, and then they're just going to go crazy, and they're going to pump me full of drugs, and it's just they'll put me in a straitjacket, and I'll be my consciousness will be submerged, and this thing will be free to do what it wants, and I'll just look like someone who's insane. Because
Yeah.
I've told
Exactly,
you, Gary,
Frank.
about
And
how,
also,
and
the thing is that now,
this is my
especially in the
biggest fear.
UK, people can be
Yeah.
sectioned by one medical professional,
No, that's
which
freaking
basically could be a
ridiculous.
glorified security guard. It doesn't even have to be a
Yeah,
doctor.
that's
It used to be
nuts.
2 doctors, but now people can get
That-
sectioned for anything.
That's
So
crazy.
it's really not wise to talk about this stuff with the establishment, because they're all being bred into materialistic atheism.
You
And
know
if
what,
they
Frank?
can't measure it and see it, it doesn't exist. Well, we know different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had in my practice, I just had a lady who applied for services who said, I was under anesthetic for an operation. And she said, when I woke up, I had this entity in me and I can't get it out. Help me. And under anesthesia. And
Yes.
she's had
Yeah.
4.5 years she's been struggling with it, she told
Yeah,
me.
that's a brilliant point, Jerry, because whenever you lose control of what your essence actually is, an anesthetic does that. I was always pretty scared of it, actually. Even when I was a kid, having laughing gas really knocked me out and took me into a very strange dimension. And I remember what it did. So once you lose that, you can lose everything. I think that's the main point we're trying to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Frank,
Yeah.
if a psychiatrist told you you were just hallucinating and that thing wasn't real, what would you tell him back?
Oh, say, well, why is this happening? Why is that? I don't believe you. It's like you're the crazy one for being so closed-minded. What can I tell him? There's obviously, once he tells me that, obviously he's heard everything I've got to say and he's come to that decision. So there's nothing more I can add to change his mind, and I'm not going to do that. He's been indoctrinated. If I was to contradict his beliefs, then he would be sitting there thinking, I've just wasted 20, 30 years of my life on something that's not real or true, and it would break him down.
Right.
It
Yeah,
would
you
break
got a
his
point
reality.
there. Yeah, you got a point there.
It would, this is why they'll suffer from cognitive dissonance. No matter how much evidence and proof I can show them that it's not what they say, they will have cognitive dissonance and refuse to look at or accept it. And their subconscious mind.
I've seen that. I've seen it. I've saw one psychiatrist when he saw something that just didn't add up. He actually ran out of the room.
We're on the fringes of things here, but I think we're actually at the cutting edge, and Jerry has been for years. And I think we should wrap it up now, because we were trying to keep it within an hour, but we've gone for an hour 25. But I think those who are interested will be fascinated. And I'd like to thank you, Frank, for being so honest and open about your experience. And I hope it's going to help other people. And I hope it's something that doesn't affect you too negatively in the future. Have you got anything you'd like to say before we wrap up, Frank?
No, that's fine. Thanks. Thanks for having me on and willing to share this. As I do want to share it and help people, make them understand. And
Okay, well, thank you for coming on with. We really appreciate it. I think you'll get the attention of a lot of people who were thinking about using these things and irresponsibly.
Join me, Mark Windows, for Windows on the World live every Sunday, 9 to 11 p.m. GMT. Check out our archive and program stream at windowsontheworld.net.